Good evening and welcome to Nurse Maureen's Health Show podcast. I'm Maureen McGrath, a registered nurse, nurse continence advisor, and sexual health educator. And I wanted to give you a little bit of an update on my no-buy year, which expired on July 22nd, 2026. About a year ago, I decided to embark on what many people thought was a rather unusual challenge. In fact, some people said, oh, don't do it for a whole year. Do it for 3 months, do it for 1 month. But no, I decided to go all in and I went on a no buy year. At first glance, I know it sounds like it's all about saving money. And yes, saving money was certainly one of my goals. Paying a tax bill was another. I actually had this unexpected tax bill on my birthday last year in June. I had to deal with that, which, as it turned out, however, as the months wore on, was partly the result of an error, which was great, and I was grateful for that. But it was stressful nonetheless, a little bit. Well, how are you going to pay that massive tax bill that you were not actually expecting? Fortunately, the bill was reduced, but I continued on my no buy year. What I discovered over the past year surprised even me. You might think that the greatest benefit I received was saving a little bit of money. And yes, that was true. I think I saved on average with needless and mindless spending about, $1,300 to $1,500 a month. But what I was really surprised about was not the money I saved, but it was the time that I gained. Think about all that time that goes into shopping, driving to the the mall, finding parking, walking around looking for something, trying on clothing, standing in line, making the purchase. Then, if you're like many of us, realizing that something doesn't fit quite right and either not returning it or returning it. So not returning it, you're losing money. And so then you end up with a whole bunch of clothes in your closet that have tags on them. Or then if you are diligent and you go back to the store to return them, that takes time as well. And then you might buy more when you go to the store, and that creates a vicious cycle. Anyway, it's amazing how much of our lives can disappear into shopping. And in my case, it kind of mindless shopping, or I'd see something and I'd think, oh, it wasn't just me I wanted to buy it for. I like to buy for other people as well. So by simply choosing not to shop, I gained so many hours every week that I never realized that I was losing. So I took that time to do something I had been putting off for years. And because I also noticed this, I was bringing in new clothing and bringing out the old clothing. But, the equation never seemed to work. And I always seemed to be overloaded in my closet. So I then started shopping in my own closet. But first I had to declutter it. And that honestly took about a full year. I would go through and I'd think, oh, I haven't worn this, or this is a little outdated, or it has a tag on it. So I feel guilty and I'd keep it. And I really didn't declutter completely. But, I was just doing it kind of piecemeal. But about a month ago, I took every single bit of clothing out of my closet and I brought it right down to 50 items. My goal was 37. But I have about 50 items in there. A couple of things I gave away to people, and they were grateful that I gave those to them. They actually liked them. I thought would be so much better on so-and-so. And so then I gave it to a friend or a sister of mine or whatever. And so that worked out as well. And you know what? It just simplified my mind. That was another benefit of my no-buy year. So as I mentioned, I started shopping in my own closet. I found things that I hadn't worn in a long time or that I had simply forgotten that I had. And and people thought they were new. It's amazing how many comments you get on clothing that you wear. And in fact, one night in November, I remember there was a party. It was kind of a big event type of party. And I thought, oh, I've got to go get something. That was my automatic thought. I've got to go get something to wear. And I thought, no, I forgot. I'm on my no-buy year. Okay, go shopping in your own closet, which I did. And I put together this outfit. And I went to the party, and later on in the evening, toward the end of the evening, somebody said, oh, I wanted to introduce you to Maureen. This is Maureen. Maureen, this is so-and-so. And so the person said, oh, I was wondering who you were. You walked in and you had this really cute, trendy outfit on. I thought, there you go, shopping in your own closet. And, that saved me money and it saved me time. And, it just made me a little bit more organized. And, so that was great. And so in doing this whole process, I rediscovered pieces that I had completely forgotten that I had owned. And quite honestly, I started enjoying wearing them. I also created new outfits by combining things differently. And best of all, I continued to receive compliments on what I was wearing. And nobody knew that my clothes weren't new. In fact, one of my dresses was like 18 years old. And, I just felt great wearing it. It was a little bit vintage, when I purchased it 18 years ago. And so now it's really vintage. Anyway, but it was kind of fun. And it reminded me that we already have as much as we need. We own far more than we think we do. Now, I have to admit, I was not perfect. During the year, I did make about 5 purchases, but that's pretty good that I can actually remember all of the purchases that I made. So, for example, I bought this festive top for Christmas at H&M that cost about $30. It was so cute. It was sleeveless and it had fur on the bottom. And I needed a top to match a skirt for a party that I was going to. And I thought, well, it's Christmas. Okay. Then we were going to a ski trip. We're going on a ski trip to, where did we go this year? We went to Telluride. Anyway, it was fabulous. But I bought a ski sweater because I actually needed it for the trip. And I play a lot of tennis, as you've probably heard if you've listened to this podcast before. And so they just keep getting grungy and dingy. So I did purchase maybe 3 or 4 packs of, 10 packs of socks for tennis. So those were just a few practical exceptions. I'm not sure about the Christmas top or how practical that was, or even the ski sweater for that matter. But I do not regret those purchases. The other thing I had to do is we were having some guests, and the guest bedroom needed some new sheets. So I was forced to buy new sheets and a comforter for that room. Aside from that, like if you can remember all the purchases that you made in the last year, I think you're doing pretty well. Another unexpected part of the experience was the generosity of friends and family. I would tell people that I was on this no buy year, and and especially like my sisters, people would feel sorry for me, and so they would end up giving me a gift that they normally wouldn't give me a gift for. And so I got a couple of gift cards, and I was able to buy a couple of things from Aritzia and Lululemon. So that was really nice and very thoughtful of those people. But I also felt badly and guilty, and also like I don't really want anything else. I'm good. I'm good with what I have. I don't want to bring the clutter into my home and into my life. And, so I found myself encouraging people not to buy me things. They'd feel a little bit badly and they think, oh, well, let me get this for you. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I am good. My goal had shifted way beyond saving money. It was really about simplifying my life at this time. And I have to say, another benefit was other aspects of my life. I was much better about meal prep and meal planning for the week because I had more time. I was just much better about finances because I was much more on top of it, more organized because I had more time. I had more time to exercise. I had more time to read. And so I was so surprised at just how much extra time I gained from my little no buy year. And that came from having less to organize, less to clean, fewer decisions to make, and more mental space. And that was really the biggest benefit. I'm so glad that I did it. And, now even I've gone shopping, I have to admit, I did buy one jacket. I was traveling recently and I did pick up this summer jacket, kind of a dressy jacket. And it was on sale. So I don't think I'll ever buy anything on full price again. I think I'll probably carry on and do some modified version of a no buy year. A lot of people wanted me to do a no buy month or a no buy 3 months. But, I just thought, what the heck? Let's just go in. So I became much more intentional about every purchase. Instead of asking, do I like this? I began asking, do I actually need this? And now I'm saying, do I already have this? Is this just a modified version of something that I already have? That's a powerful question. And I just want to let you know that, and this no buy year became a little popular on Instagram this year. And I haven't seen it recently, but it's probably because I was talking about it. And then my feed, brings up all the people who are doing no buy, whatever, no buy month, no buy season, But a no buy year isn't about deprivation. It's about becoming conscious of our habits and about realizing that marketing constantly tells us we need something new to be happy, fashionable, or successful. I mean, I did have a friend who was a declutterer, and she would come over and help me. I would hire her to declutter my closet. We did that so many times. And she's actually the one who said, next time you need a dress for a presentation, go shopping in your own closet. So would I do it again? Absolutely, 100%. But I think the next time I'll approach it a little bit differently. Rather than a complete moratorium, I might give myself an annual spending limit or a monthly spending limit. But what I really don't want to happen is that I start purchasing new clothes and bringing them in. And in fact, I found myself going into stores. It's only been like 5 days, to be honest with you, but I've been in stores more than before, probably more than in the whole year. And I put things in the cart and then I'm just like, I don't even need these. I'm leaving. And so, it's really changed the way I shop. My consumerism. I've expanded it to other areas of my life as well. But you know what? I have two weddings that I have to attend in the next month or so. And so I do need something to wear to those. Although I'm seriously thinking about wearing some dresses that I already have in my own closet, at least to the welcome receptions, because they're family weddings. And so perhaps there's going to be some family members who've seen them before, but who cares really? At the end of the day, nobody's looking at me and they're not going to remember what I had on at last year's family wedding. But nonetheless, just having a little bit of ability to spend or to purchase a gift for somebody that feels a little bit more sustainable while still encouraging my intentional spending. However, the lessons I've learned will stay with me for a long time. I've saved money, I've reclaimed time, I've simplified my life, and I've appreciated what I already own. And perhaps most important above all else is that I've learned that buying less doesn't mean living less. In many ways, it means living more. If you've ever thought about trying a no-buy month, a no-buy season, or even a no-buy year, I encourage you to give it a try. You don't have to be perfect. I certainly wasn't, but you may be surprised by what you gain. And I'd love to hear from you about this. Have you ever done a no-buy challenge? And what did you learn? What was the hardest part? And what unexpected benefits did you discover? One of the hardest parts for me was just my automatic thoughts of like, oh, I better go and get something new. Oh, I better go and buy them something. Oh, I better bring something. I just tried to be a little bit more creative, and I'm sure you can be creative as well. So thanks so much for tuning in to Nurse Maureen's Health Show podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more people discover the show. Until next time, remember that sometimes the richest life isn't the one with the most things. It's the one with the most time, purpose, and peace. Take good care until next week.